Let's talk some toys in here.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Today is the Man Child. Alright, so today up for review, I'm going to go over the new Masterverse, new Eternia Webstor. Man, look at that guy, how he came out. Pretty cool. Yeah, so somebody has some of this stuff for Wave 10, it's part of Wave 10 on eBay. I don't know how, because this line is not supposed to be out till I think September is the official release date. But you go on the internet, you find anything. And I found one, and here he is. The design, the packaging, the overall look, the color, it's incredible. And here's a quick look at the art on the back of the box of Webstor. Yeah, looking awesome. Just love the pose he's in, a menacing face. Looks like he's got his web or anchor grapple hook thing shooting up, going up, I don't know where. You can see Castle Grayskull in the background here. It's neat too, he has these big spider-like appendages coming off the backpack. Watch the figure, looks like he also has something like the classic, so it's neat, gave him that. And here's a closer look at Webster's new bio. You want to pause and read that. And dropping down, here's all 4 figures as part of the Wave 10 assortment of this Masterverse series. We got Clamchamp, the Skeletor, I guess they're calling him Horde Skeletor, of course, Webstor, and Prince Adam. And here's a little more additional art on the right-hand side of the box of Webstor, and it looks like is the caverns. It's neat too. It looks like he has a new gun. He doesn't have the typical plasma blaster anymore. It's like a grapple hook gun for his grapple hook. Huh, interesting. And before we get into Webstor, here's a little sneak peek of the other 2 figures, part of Wave 10 series I found on eBay as well. Of course, the new Skeletor, the Horde Skeletor to call him. As you can see, it's the Horde X belt, the whole backstory to that. And then, of course, Clamchamp, which he came out really cool. I don't have Prince Adam. I didn't see him yet. Hopefully, sooner or later. But it's, yeah, neat to have these figures and just see them in hand. Alright, so I got Webster out of the box with all accessories. We'll give him a quick look around. Yeah, just so cool the way it was designed for the Masterverse. The backpack, the head, a couple of the gun. Anyway, accessories. Now, my gun's really warped. We'll look at that soon. But beside that, I'm going to try to heat that up and fix it. Came out awesome. I love the armor, the face. Man, what a job. So, we're bringing in Webster for a closer look. Look at that head sculpt. That's one of the coolest head sculpts for a modern Webster figure yet. I mean, the classics was good. Even the vintage was fun for the day. But this is, yeah, well done. And again, it's exciting to finally see Webster in the Masterverse line. Head sculpt is just over the top. Look at those eyes in the top of the, red, the compound eyes a spider would have. But they're like, at first I thought they were LEDs, they're not. It's just recessed in there and translucent red, yeah, jewel pieces or something on both the main eyes and the top. I don't think there's a light. Let me just pop the head off for a second. All right, well, there's our brown ball peg. Makes sense, but let's take a look at that, make sure I'm not wrong. No, I guess not. It almost looks like the light, though, can go through the main eye in the top or vice versa. So I think it's, I don't think they're 2 different. It's hard to tell. Anyway, pretty cool. Sculpted mouth is awesome in an open position. I like that. I wish more in the Masterverse came with 2 heads. The closed mouth, going back for the vintage style, vintage kind of thing, and that battle ready mouth. I don't know, there's something with that, showing the teeth, tongue, just the that pose. So real quick, turn out the lights for a second. Trying that light, you can see that. Yeah, look at the light going through the the main eyes and the top pieces and vice versa. So it's like they're like just solid pieces going through the head, and light illuminates one side or the other. That's pretty cool. And then, of course, our head articulation, we can spin left to right. Go down about that far and back, only that far. It gets hindered by that cut in the neck. So moving down to our chest and buck and armor. That armor is really cool looking. I mean, it's the way it's layered. Yeah, it's got all this kind of rough sculpting detail. It's a metallic purple color, I want to say, to match these claws back here. Okay, it's all part of the backpack, but that's really neat. I love the design in here. Very, yeah, it's traditional, going back to the vintage classics, but it's not flat. It's like, you can see it's independently sculpted outwards and has just different layers on it. And even this chest piece in here looks kind of, these 2, the top and lower, almost translucent, like light can affect one or the other. I don't know if it's the same as the eyes, but it sort of like a design like that. So spinning them around, has a traditional Webstor backpack, which is a little bit redesigned, but it's really cool. And I love these fully articulated well, let me see. I'm sorry. All right, so they're just sculpted up here. These don't move, but it does have ball joints near the, or hinge joints, I think they are. Okay, so you can see they can go forward, back, and spin, all around. All four, the same exact type of design. These claws, and I don't think they can pop out. I'm afraid. Looks like they could if you wanted to with some type of peg. I'm not going to mess with it right now. I don't know why you would, but you could get them out. I can see that already. Just afraid of breaking them. Anyway, the backpack's interesting, but before we get into that and a grapple hook, let's take a look at the armored. So if you want to remove that, you can already see my buckle straps already fell off. So it's just going to pop at that side. And you do the same with the left. Just going to, let me see, grab it here and pop it apart. And then I think the armor, okay, so it can go over the head without taking the head off. So let's get that out of the way. Take a closer look at the armor off the body. So once again, we already went over the front. You can see a little better detail there. Yeah, real soft, right? So we know about the two buckle straps. Going back on, moving back to the backpack once again. Now this backpack, so check this out. So the grapple hook, yeah, it's like a really small hole in there with the rope that has a nice little loop. Now I just push it through there like this so you can actually hold it. From what I see, if you want to hold it in place with the backpack. So I'm going to take it out, and it does have, you can manipulate this little string piece. It has a little end on there it's a hollow piece, which we'll get into that soon, but it can go back and forth, kind of like the Vintage and the Origins one does. But I did try this hook, and I couldn't seem to pull mine up. We'll try it in a second, but it does have the action features, what I'm getting at. Now, what's interesting, too, is what I noticed with this backpack. All right, so we already went over the legs and everything. I'm getting ahead here, but check this out. So it pops apart. See that? So there's two clips in here, and the channel's very open in here. And then looking at the back, all right, you can kind of see, the inner workings of it and sculpting. Now, has a peg in here too for this piece, so you can kind of plug it in, put the string over the top, snap this piece on, and it almost looks like it doesn't matter which way this, snaps in, but I'm just going to, any old way. So it's going to snap on like that. And then going back to that string now, it's almost like it hides. If you don't want the string hanging out the bottom, I guess you can coil this up inside and then put your hook in position, or just let the string hang, or something like that. I'm assuming that's why they gave you that option, so you don't have that goofy pull string, set up like the Vintage had. All right, so moving on to the grapple hook itself. So we know about this piece. The string is only about 6 inches long, if that. See it? Pretty strong. And pretty interesting hook, and it's neat how it folds up like that. Just check that out. All the three, grapple ends are articulated, which is neat. And go all the way down and up, so it helps fold it in. It's that's different for Webstor instead of just having a solid hook. I like that. And here's a quick look at Webstor, obviously with the armored off the buck. So it's typical Masterverse He-Man buck, I'll call it. So putting the armor and everything back on, we'll go over all the articulation as far as the buck and body. So with this armor, we can go that ab crunch, so we can go forward and back about that far. This piece keeps popping. Yeah, this strap's a little loose on mine. But anyway, now we can spin at the waist. As far as the arms, right, we can go out, out, down, back, and forward. With the bicep swivel, can bend all the way up the elbow towards the face. Webstor and the other arms all the same, of course. Webstor comes with two semi-grip and weapon hands, I call them. On hinge joints, they can spin, go in and out. And of course, he has two additional pair of hands. I'll bring in a little while. So we spin at the waist, I said. Has a typical new Eternia style belt. Typical loincloth. It's black, but it has a gray wash in it. It has a 2000X kind of look where it's just long, really flexible. As far as the legs, go all the way out. Okay, forward, back. Has a thigh cut. Can bend all the way up at the knee about that far. Has these ankle or shin guard kind of things going. Not really boots, or half boots, but really cool design. Got the silver knee piece here. It's all part of sculpt. Purplish color, not a little different from the armor. It's not metallic, but yeah, it works. And then as far as the feet, he has 5-toe kind of creature feet, and then he can go up, down, and rock side to side. So getting back to this backpack and claws, so yeah, the legs do come out with a little work. I wasn't sure, but if you didn't want that, check it out. They all pull right out with little pegs. Pretty easy. And taking a look at back of Webstor again, and with, of course, our covering legs off, I'm going to plug this little end cap on, and then loop the string over and try to get in this track facing up. Now snap our cover back on, and again, it doesn't look like it matters which way it goes. It's, you know, top or bottom, it's all the same. So here's another look around Webster with the armor back on. I put the hook in the hand, right? The grapples are all in the open position, the rope and backpack's plugged in with the rope hanging out. I have to adjust it, sorry. But if you didn't want to use those claws going back to the vintage or the Origins, which never had it, they didn't come around until the Classics and 2000X, sort of what it looked like. And it's like he's basically just ready to throw his grapple, and, you know, the rope's all coiled up in his backpack. And here's a closer look at one of those spider claw appendages off the backpack. So once again, it's just like, yeah, it's pre-sculpted, but the only articulation is in this pin. You got to be careful with this putting this in and out, because you can see that breaking. You're doing it too many times. So moving on to Webster's accessories, it comes with 2 additional hands. We have an open claw hand for the left side and a complete punching fist for the right. And then as far as hands, I'll just pop this hand down the left side for people who ain't familiar with the peg and what it looks like. And we'll put the open hand in on the left side and push it in. Of course, it's on a hinge joint, can spin, in and out. And for his last accessory, he gets a gun that's sort of reminiscent of his typical vintage classic style blaster, but it's different. It's not even a blaster anymore. It's a grapple hook gun that you put that grapple hook in. Has this handle plugged into it on the back, or a place to put it. It's how it came in the box. So it's almost, and it just spins. It doesn't go in and out. And of course you have 2 handles here. You can hold it like that maybe. But I think this handle also goes in the back of that plug in the backpack. That's to help you pull it to give it that vintage effect. So once again, I got the backpack apart, of course, and back on Webster. So I'm gonna put the rope, feed it through like this, but I'm not gonna put that little end in this peg. And then of course snap our backpack on once again. Just lock it. Now I'm gonna put this little handle on the end, so it does plug in there. It looks like it was meant to go in there. Okay, so we have our setup grapple hook. I'm just gonna put it in my fingers for now instead of hanging on something. And you got that pull handle. So Webster technically sort of has the action feature, but it's not going to be like the Origins or, you know, the vintage where you're going to pull it and it has the mechanics inside. It's going to help them, you know, slide across, move on the line with leverage. I don't see that. And if you were to pull too hard, his handle's going to pop it anyway. So it's not that tight, but more or less, it kind of does have the action feature reminiscent of the vintage Origins. So getting back to this grapple once again, so I closed it up, and you can just see it will feed, you know, right through these open ends here, go all the way in like that. Now if you open the hook more, it can go all the way back to this. Pretty cool. And so now this isn't going to plug into that end there. And then if you want, for a fact, you could put that handle in, I guess. It will look something like that. And then, oh, I see, I'm sorry. Oh, check this out. I didn't even see that. I missed it. Okay, and then plug just like that. Cool. And that's how to hold, you know, how the rope's held and your position your handles and the grapple hook for the gun. Or once again, you can plug this piece into the back of the backpack, put it back together, then set your Webster up with the gun in hand. So I just, you know, put the lower hand grip on the right side, and yeah, you can use either the open hand or this wider claw hand I have on to hold it, something like that, right? Position our claws the way you want them. And then we know we have the rope in the back of the backpack, and we'll just close it up, put the grapple hook in. And now you can make it look like Webster has the grapple gun up on an angle, right, ready to fire over a wall, and the rope's being fed out of the backpack, so there's a lot of it, you know, to go to the distance he needs. And you can also plug that handle back into the back of the gun like came in the package, and just have another way to hold this gun, and of course the other hand holding the foregrip, something like that. So taking a little closer look at this new grapple gun that the Masterverse Webster comes with in comparison with the previous blasters that he's always known for. So of course we have our Origins, which is very close to the vintage design, and this is a spare Classics Webster gun from the Castle Grayskull set. So it's a red metallic, orange color I want to call it, but you can take a look at all those, you know, compared to one another. So if you didn't want to use this grapple gun Webster and you had an Origins or a vintage one, this is what it would look like in hand, right? Going back more traditional. And then of course we have our grapple set up, you know, back in the backpack, and I got the hook locked into the top. And here's a look at one of those spare Classics Webster blaster rifles in the Masterverse blaster Webster's hands. So you want to take a look at that. Of course the grapple hook's still in the backpack. Here's a quick look with the Origins blaster in one hand, and he's getting ready to throw the grapple hook in the other. And you got to have both of the, you know, semi-closed weapon hands on, which I changed the left one back. And for one last setup, I just put that little handle back into the end of the rope, put it in one hand, and of course the hook in the other like he's getting ready to throw it, and it's just being pulled back through the handle instead of shot out of the gun or the ropes coming out of the backpack. So moving on to a little comparisons. This is my Webster and car, like all my stuff. But you can see the overall design from the Masterverse. So the Masterverse is, yeah, it's up there. It's really cool. But the skin tone is totally different. So if you had a loose Webster, you want to change heads around and stuff, it's not really even close. So speaking of the classics and the Masterverse Webster armor, will this fit on the classics buck? So here's my spare Skeletor. It's the same exact buck as that Webster I showed you. Of course, mine's not loose, but my Skeletor is. So let's see if this armor is going to fit on the classics body or buck. And here's a look at the armor on the classics buck or Skeletor. It fits perfect. Now we got a Skele Webster. Look at that. Look at that custom. Awesome. And real quick, wanted to see how the Masterverse Webster head fits on the classics body. Yeah, it fits, even though the color's off. It can still work for Moto. Just different shades of blue. Well, you want to check that out. Rotate all around. You had to really force this down, but it does work on the on the peg. So here's a quick comparison between the Masterverse Webster and the 2000X NECA Staction Webster. So you kind of see the overall design differences between the two. I always feel like the Masterverse figure somehow has a little inspiration, off the 2000X line, just with those long arms, the aesthetics in the legs, the hunched forward neck. But this Webster really had a complete redesign, longer claws in the back, so you kind of see, the whole setup differences. And of course, the skin tone is completely different. But I'm going to take a look at that if you're curious. And of course, for the last comparison, we'll bring in our Origins next to the Masterverse Webster. And we'll switch some parts around real quick. Now, my Origins Webster has a little bit of custom stuff going on. Not much. This piece on the back, these extra long spider legs, came from Etsy. It's just a piece that went around the backpack there. It sits on there. I shaded it with a marker. It was just all one color. It was 3D printed. But I'm sure you're familiar. If not, this is Webster's backpack. And you had to put a couple pieces of sticky tape to hold it. It kept falling off. So first thing I want to try is the Masterverse Webster head on the Origins body. I left his armor on. I'm going to leave them claws on for now. Take a look at that. I mean, the colors, it's almost perfect in my light. It works great. Articulates well. You got to push it down a little bit. But check that head out. That looks awesome on that body and setup. And then the other thing is, so I took out the Origins Webster hand, obviously on the right side. I wanted to see if the Webster hand from the Masterverse can fit the Origins arm. Color, again, looks exactly the same, really close, but the pegs are different. I was hoping that would work, because sometimes the hands, depending on the figure from Masterverse, does fit in the Origins and vice versa. But this has larger pegs. I noticed, I think it's just a new Eternia style thing from a lot of figures I've seen, because the Origins hands are terrible, depending on the figure. My Webster, the hand, it's like the fingers were sculpted too short. It keeps dropping the gun. I had to put tape in it. It doesn't hold the claw. This, that, and the other thing. Now, it looks like you could drill out, modify. You want to open it up. It'll fit and go in there well. And you'll still have the hinge function. You can spin it, depending on what drill bit you use. But I just wanted to show that. But it is possible if you wanted to modify it and maybe have some little better hands. And they are close. Well, let me see the size. Yeah, they are close. It wouldn't look too bad, I don't think, as long as you change left and right side. And going back to the Masterverse body with the armor still on, put the hand back. And you wanted to use the Origins, Webster head just for that vintage nostalgia, kind of mix it up. Well, it's ain't a bad sculpt on this, but it just has a traditional closed face. A little better redesign to vintage, I think, which vintage look a little sillier. This is a little better. It does work. It's kind of sloppy, but it does have the articulation. And the skin tone, it's not bad. It is darker on the head, though, than the body, where the Webster body had a little darker colors on my figure compared to the head, But anyway, you want to take a look at that. So here's a look with the Masterverse armored on the Origins body. Of course, I have the Origins head back on. I put the grapple hook in hand, and it doesn't hold it perfect. You got to manipulate. We'll take a look at that. Everything fits perfect, though. And here's a look with the armor still on the Origins body. Of course, I put the Origins blaster in his hands, and I put the Masterverse Webster head on the Origins body with that setup. I just threw the hook in the back, let the string hang for now, but you want to take a look at that. Works really well, looks cool. So going back to the Masterverse body, I got the head off for the moment. Yeah, the Origins backpack, if you want to try that, it's not going to work. You can get, the straps up top on. Actually, I have them already together. But you can't, I don't know, maybe a lot of force, but it doesn't look like they want to catch. And this ain't going to fit around the body anyway. And here's one last look at the Masterverse body with the Origins head on. I just put the grapple hook in hand, kept the body armored off. Go back old school when we were kids, and I had friends who had the Webster, the armor was missing for some reason, the hook, and stuff like that. But then I just threw the Masterverse Webster head back on the body without the armor and the gun in hand. Okay, so that was my overall review on the new Master Universe, new Eternia Webstor. I think he came out perfect. You know, it's just, you could not ask for a better Webstor with the Masterverse series. And he's another like mutant figure, well done, just like Clawful and Buzz-Off. Clawful 2 is another one over the top. I kind of wish he would have had a variant head with maybe an open mouth and the black pupils in the eyes instead of white, but it's different, it's unique. They gave him the shell reminiscent of classics, the large claw. Also has a 2000 X looking kind of design, newer armor that goes back to the Filmation. Buzz-Off was another one. Just I thought it was perfect the way it was done, redesigned. But Webstor, it's so cool. You get this grapple hook gun now. It's different, and how you can plug the end in on the gun, or you can do the grapple hook independently through the backpack and have the pull feature, or hide the rope and just have the hook hanging in the back. You got those big spider claw, mechanical spider claws going back to the 2000 Extra Classics. The articulation's great. The head design, the eyes, it mixed parts well for the most part with the Origins, and probably could with the Classics one too. But again, the skin tone would be very different. And I have a feeling the Classics armor, if you had one, would fit on the Masterverse, this body. I don't know why many people do that, you know, if you have Classics over Masterverse, but it probably can. Aside that, I think he's a terrific figure. These are due out in September. There are some ones early, like always floating around on eBay online. I don't know why. I got one. I picked it up. Just showing you guys. Hopefully you like them. So I hope this answers all your questions. I appreciate all you guys watching. And until next time, take care.